I'm biased, but I'm a huge Overmono fan. I don't think there's many sort of electronic outfits out there at the moment that are doing what they're doing.
And they're ready to break through and cut through. Recently, of course, that collaboration alongside Fred again and Lil Yachty has really put them on the map for people.
Mixed by Overmono.
Growing up and getting into DJing and then into producing, it was a dream, but I just didn't expect it to happen. It was always one of those things I was going to work at, but I didn't really think that, realistically, it would happen.
Thanks for coming. Let's do some dumb shit.
Your dad was a French horn player, so you come from a musical family. But what exactly drew you to electronic music?
I think for me it was just something I'd never heard before. It was so alien. I'd started listening to a bit of metal when I was like 8, 9, 10, along with then a bit of hip-hop, NWA and stuff like that. But it wasn't until I heard some UK hardcore and I was just like, whoa, what is this? And I was just like, I'm in love, I'm sold.
Give it up for Trust.
And for me, it was just, I could just hear music coming out of Tom's room, and the door would always be closed. I could always hear him doing his weights, knocking about in the room, and then just hearing this mad music just sort of pounding out through the walls of our dad's house. And I was just like, oh, this is crazy, I want to get into this. So I started pinching records from his room, and yeah, I fully got into it.
He's a big favourite of ours. For next 45 is Tesla.
I think we're both feeling a little bit stuck with what we're doing individually.
In hindsight, we'd been feeling a little bit sort of penned in with our solo careers for a little while.
We were driving back to our mum's one night and we thought it would be good to write some music together.
And we were just like, why don't we hire a cottage and take a load of gear down there and just go and have fun? We've talked about it at length, but we've never really come to any sort of definitive conclusion as to why it took us so long to start working together.
It's simple as that we just hadn't thought about doing it. It was it sounds so stupid.
We've been thrown into something that was totally out of our comfort zone.
With every show that we do, we figure out more and more what it is that we're trying to achieve. But until you actually get out and start performing it, you just have no idea what it is really that you want to convey in a live situation.
We have the world premiere of a brand new live show. Together it is Tesla and Trust, and they are known as Overmono. Boiler Room, make some noise for Overmono.
When we started, we'd often go and sit in the hotel room afterwards and have a cup of tea.
Chamomile tea and debrief.
Yeah, exactly, and go through the set and try and improve on that. And it's just a case of
constantly going and refining that.
Yeah. Probably after 1,000 shows, you feel happy with it. That big show we played, I think, was Unsound, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we...
One of the worst experiences of my life.
There's so much vibrations on the stage, just all the sound from the computer cut out. And then luckily I had this little modular, was basically just making these weird noises on the modular until, and Tom was restarting the computer. I'm pretty sure we finished that show and I said I wanted to leave the band.
We've been writing music for a little bit and then we were discussing stuff with XL, and when we signed with them, at that point we were like, yeah, we want to do an album, but we never really set out a time frame. As time went on, that we had a lot to say before committing to an album. We really wanted to sort of almost in the right to do an album.
I heard man when I chat and chit. I come through like what's good, these wigs hit and split. Man better breeze and sprint, it's long if I choose to bite down on these pricks. X is a lyrical 4-4 of this, so make sure it's X that you want to rally with.
4 more cases of coronavirus have been reported in England, bringing the total number in the UK to 8.
The coronavirus is the biggest threat this country has faced for decades, and this country is not alone.
Think I miss raving.
We'd spent the whole pandemic just making music, and we had no idea if anyone's listening to it. we'd been playing shows and stuff before the pandemic, and it was all cool, but then we came after the pandemic and did Gala Festival, and suddenly the crowd was much bigger than anything we'd done before, and everyone knew all of the music and stuff, and it was that kind of like, oh shit, people have been listening to this like during that time. That was the moment where you're like, oh hang on, like something's changed. Since the pandemic, there's definitely been, everyone's missed a sense of human connection, and so any music that makes you feel more connected to people, I think, is probably going to hit harder than it might have done before. The album, to a lot of people, will be the first thing they've heard from us, and for me, it's the kind of most complete version of what we've been doing over the last few years. That's a really nice feeling, thinking that is going to be a lot of people's first impressions of us. That's a big part of, I think, why it just feels like the beginning.
I always like the idea of trying to reach as many people as possible with the music that we make, and if we can have this as like a way of reaching a whole new audience, that'd be amazing, and be an introduction to our sound.